Let's jump right into this explainer and uncover the shocking, kind of bitter reality hiding inside that seemingly healthy juice box. We live in an era where, everybody knows sodas and colas are just plain bad for us. We're constantly told to avoid them. So when we're strolling down the supermarket aisle looking for a healthier swap for ourselves or our kids, packaged fruit juices look like the absolute perfect solution. I mean, the boxes are plastered with these gorgeous, bright images of fresh fruit, promising immunity-boosting nutrients, vitamins, and minerals. Sometimes the marketing even claims a single tiny box gives your kids the equivalent nutrition of eating multiple whole fruits. Sounds totally fantastic, right? Well, the reality is far more complicated and honestly pretty alarming.
So that brings us to a fundamental question. If fruits themselves are undeniably incredible for our bodies, packed with vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and flavonoids that literally find off heart disease and depression, why on earth is packaged fruit juice linked to health problems? Logically, drinking the juice of those amazing fruits should be great for us too, shouldn't it? Yet modern research is telling us the exact opposite. People drinking packaged fruit juices are experiencing some real, significant health issues. How does something from such a healthy source end up being so problematic? We'll take a look at this absolutely jarring truth. A glass of 100% apple juice has almost the exact same amount of sugar as a typical glass of cola. Seriously, you might be actively avoiding that 33 grams of sugar in a soda, right? Only to sit down and feel great about a glass of apple juice that contains roughly 28 grams. Nutritionally speaking, when you look at the sheer sugar load you're dumping into your body, these two beverages are startlingly similar. To put that into perspective, researchers did a massive meta-analysis involving nearly 200,000 participants. And what they found was wild. Regular fruit juice consumption actually actively increases the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Just think about the scale of that for a second. 200,000 people. We're not talking about a small, isolated study here. This is hundreds of thousands of individuals. The data clearly shows that instead of protecting your health, making a daily habit of drinking these juices is doing the exact opposite. So how did a natural fruit turn into a diabetes risk? We have to look at how we got here historically. Back in ancient Ayurvedic texts, juice literally always meant fresh juice, like squeezing an orange right then and there, maybe mixing it with rock salt to fight fatigue. But preserving it? Impossible. Jump ahead to the 18th century. English sailors were dying of scurvy. Doctors figured out citrus juice prevented it. But to keep it from rotting on those long sea voyages, they had to preserve it. How? By mixing it with massive amounts of sugar, water, and, you guessed it, rum. A pirate's dream for sure, but hardly a health tonic. Then, in the late 1800s, pasteurization came along, letting companies boil juices to kill bacteria. And Thomas Welch started mass-promoting pasteurized grape juice. Finally, in 1963, the Swedish company Tetra Pak completely revolutionized the whole shebang with Tetra Brick packaging. Suddenly, juice wasn't something you squeezed in your kitchen anymore. It became an industrial liquid, engineered for mass transport and an endless shelf life. The disconnect between nature and processing has gotten so extreme today that companies have actually faced lawsuits over it. Get this, in 2011, there was a California lawsuit that perfectly highlights this tension. Consumers were seeing these ads with a literal straw poked directly into a fresh, juicy orange. Naturally, they assumed the juice inside the carton was exactly that, fresh squeezed orange juice. But the plaintiffs argued, no, the liquid inside was actually a highly processed, scientifically engineered product. Now, even though the case was eventually dismissed on technical grounds, it totally pulled back the curtain on how heavily manipulated these everyday beverages really are. If you go to your pantry right now, flip a typical juice box around, and ignore the giant font screaming about vitamin C, the ingredient list tells the real story. Take a guess what the very first ingredient usually is. Yep, it's almost always water. The second ingredient, fruit juice concentrate. And get this, it usually makes up barely 12% of the total volume in the box. 12%. And the rest of it, just added sugars and artificial elements. All those amazing nutrients you'd actually want from a fruit, like potassium, calcium, iron, they're practically non-existent. To actually make that 12% concentrate, manufacturers put the fruit through this incredibly intense process. They take the fresh juice, blast it with extreme heat, evaporate the water, aggressively filter it, and then pasteurize the life out of it until all that's left is a thick, highly stable syrup. Commercially, it's a total marvel. It can be shipped incredibly cheaply all over the world and sit in a warehouse forever. But nutritionally, it's a complete disaster. That aggressive heating process literally destroys the very things that make fruit taste good in the first place. And because all that heavy processing completely destroys the natural, vibrant taste of the fruit, manufacturers kind of have to play chemist. Think about it. If you simply mix water back into that thick syrup, it would taste completely flat and honestly pretty gross. So to fool your senses, the industry pumps the liquid full of a chemical cocktail. We're talking artificial flavors, vibrant colorings just to make it look appealing again, acidity regulators to give it that fruity little bite, and stabilizers to keep the whole concoction mixed together. At the end of the day, you aren't really tasting fresh fruit at all. You're tasting a highly engineered chemical recreation. But the absolute biggest concern here is the sugar. The American Heart Association is super clear on this. Kids between 7 and 10 years old shouldn't have more than 24 grams of added sugar in an entire day. That's the hard limit. Yet just one tiny 100-milliliter serving of packaged juice packs around 13 grams. That is literally more than half their daily limit in one little box. And let's be real here, most kids are drinking way more than 100 milliliters at a time. In just a couple of gulps, they've completely blown past their limit, drastically increasing their risks of obesity and blood sugar issues down the line. Now, to truly grasp why drinking all this liquid sugar is so uniquely harmful to our bodies, we have to talk about dietary fiber. Fiber is basically the unsung hero of the whole fruit world. When you eat an actual apple or an orange, you're eating a ton of this indigestible material. Its main job is to act like a biological brake pedal for your system. It slows everything down in your digestive tract, making sure that those natural sugars inside the fruit are released nicely, slowly, and steadily into your bloodstream. But when you juice a fruit, you're essentially taking all that protective fiber and throwing it straight into the trash.
And without that built-in brake pedal, things go haywire. The liquid juice just floods your bloodstream instantly. Your blood sugar absolutely skyrockets, and your pancreas has to panic pump massive amounts of insulin just to deal with the sudden spike. Now sure, your body can handle this happening every once in a while. But doing this to your system day after day, year after year, it completely exhausts your insulin response. And that right there is exactly why that massive 200,000-person study we talked about earlier linked regular juice drinking to type 2 diabetes. Okay, so what if you just genuinely love fresh juice? You don't have to banish it from your life completely, but we definitely need to treat it with respect. If you want to enjoy it occasionally, moderation is absolutely key. Try to stick to about one 237-milliliter glass a day. And here's a pro tip. Always consume it with a full meal. By doing that, the fats, proteins, and fibers from your actual food will jump in and help slow down the absorption of those liquid sugars. It's a really simple, practical way to still enjoy the taste without strapping your body into a daily insulin roller coaster. But if we really want to take back control of our nutrition, the absolute gold standard is, of course, to simply eat whole, fresh fruits. Bite into an apple. But hey, if you really prefer drinking your nutrients on the go, making a smoothie at home is wildly superior to juicing. Because a blender just pulverizes the whole fruit, none of that absolutely crucial fiber gets lost. It stays right there in the cup. Plus, you can supercharge it. Throw in some nuts, some chia seeds, maybe a handful of spinach. You're suddenly turning what used to be a simple sugar rush into a truly balanced, nutrient-dense mini-meal. So I want to leave you with this thought. The next time you're standing in the supermarket aisle, staring at those deceptively happy, glowing pictures of fruit on a cardboard box, remember what's actually inside. We've traced the journey from fresh, ancient remedies to heavily processed, artificially flavored, sugar-laden syrups that have been completely stripped of their natural defenses. You now have the knowledge to look right past that clever marketing. The real question is, now that you know the bitter truth about processing and those severe sugar spikes, are you still going to reach for that juice box?